This is a screencast covering Chapter 16 of the CSS textbook. We're in week 11 and I want to cover transforms. And there's only 6 small scripts here. You'll notice the book code has quite a few, but we're going to cover the major properties and sort of reduce instead of expand how much we need to know. Because transforms are one of those things that they're not a must-have, they're a nice-to-have. And I have never seen any of these in any of the front-end development assignments that I've seen, or even the job interview questions. So take this with a grain of salt, but there's really only 6 things to learn here. So the first 5 are going to cover 2D, the last one will be 3D. So what I'm going to do first is show you what it looks like in a browser. So we'll be working in Chrome. And this is the translate method. And basically, if we inspect element here, the translate, close this tab here, translate basically changes. It doesn't move something. It basically changes it from one position to another because it's not timed. So if we take a look at this, we see WebKit transform. That's the Safari translation with the engine prefix, but really it's translate. So transform property, the value translate. We're going to translate the height to be 50 pixels and the width to be another 100. Actually, this is the X, this is the Y. So when we look at this and we go to inspect the element down here, you'll see height and width right there, but the transform property, and let me move this so it's within your screen, is 50 pixels. So if we were to add to this, you would see it move left to right, and this would be to the top. So keep in mind you can do minuses if you'd like, -5 pixels, and as we go down here we can go off the screen. So all translate does is change the position of something. Now, why would you use this? Well, there's a few reasons, and there's a reason they put it in here. Instead of just having a left and top coordinate, translate would move it from its current position. I could see using this as a way to fix things in a media query for older devices, anything that would support the translate property. Now, these properties they go back. I mean, they can go back to IE9. So there's the prefix from Microsoft. So translate just changes the position of something with the X and Y coordinate. This is the rotation property. And it's not a 3D rotate by any means, but it's going to rotate it a certain way. So if we inspect element right here, we see that it's rotated 20 degrees and to the minus. So that's the counterclockwise. Now if I were to raise this up a little bit, you see that it would rotate clockwise to 30 and then even more. So let's speed it up a little bit, and you see that it just does nothing more than rotate. It doesn't skew, it doesn't scale, it simply rotates a certain amount of degrees. Now if I go to 0 degrees here, you see that it is straight up. So 0 is always the top of the clock in the 360 degree circle. So that's rotate. So now we've done translate and rotate. This will be scale, and just ignore the prefixes for now and go right with the section. So this will be width and height. So the first one's always X, the second one's Y. As far as sizing, the first one's width, the second one's height. And that's why when we go to 3, we can see it scale down. So if I go to my div right here and alter the values, we can make it scale to 1, 1, 1, 1. And that's the scaling height and width of that. So we can always, go up. We can always go minus too. And notice how when you minus it, it goes and reverses the text. So it actually inverts. So it's a reverse scale. So that's an inverse scale upside down. This is an inverse scale. There you go, like that. So you can flip things up and do all sorts of fun things with it. Useful? Possibly. We get to the later chapters of this text, and we're in advanced territory. And that means that we touch on things that we might not otherwise have a chance to touch on. The important thing, too, is, grids and flexbox. Those are probably the most important parts of this recent couple of weeks. So let's keep our eye on the prize here. This is the 4th transform property. It's called Skew. And if we look at the Skew script, and these scripts will be attached to your video, you can see my div is skewed with a skew X. So when we skew upwards, you can see that it goes off the page. If we skew downwards, it goes opposite side. So when you hit 90 degrees, you see that it disappears, which is kind of neat, but usually you just skew left and right. We would control this with JavaScript. That's where this might have some value. Now you can also skew Y. So this is a skew Y. And let's go to this and we'll skew Y. And this is the same value. It's just moving off the Y-axis, not the X-axis. Of course, this being the Y-axis, top to bottom, and X left to right. So the fifth 2D transform property is the matrix. And the matrix carries several methods. It combines all the methods into one. And there's skew, scale, and rotate inside here. And those are the matrix properties that we can manipulate. Matrix is almost shorthand for all of the properties above. So you can experiment with this if it suits your fancy. And work with the scale right here. So this is also a scale the other way. So you can skew and rotate to your heart's content. So matrix is the combination of all three. The last one is actually a 3D rotation. It's transform. So right now I have rotate Y 150 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and we'll hit this and inspect it. So this is rotate Y, and we can shoot it back to 0, and you see that it's at its beginning, but rotation positive starts to rotate around the Y-axis. And you're going backwards on the Y-axis now until it's in reverse pattern. So there's a rotate Y, there's also a rotate X, and we'll go to 0 on each one of these so you get an idea of what's happening. So I'm going to go to 0. And that's 0 for rotate X. Now we're rotating X that way. So it's rotating around the left to right axis. And now it comes back, which is kind of cool. But for depth, there's actually rotate Z. And this one, we can do the same thing too. So the way to get really good grip on what we're doing is to just go to 0. 0 DEG and see what happens, right? So we've got this, and we can go in here like this, and now you've got the Z index, which is basically an angle, but it doesn't twist, doesn't flip. It basically rotates counterclockwise because that is the Z. So X is left to right, Y is top to bottom, and Z would be from the screen pointing to you as if it were stabbing you. It's kind of the best way, I think, to look at it. But anyway, these are transforms, and it's for me, it's just a chance to go delve into this, and I won't quiz you on this per se. I don't think it's a very beneficial quiz. I don't need your minds, preoccupied with this assignment. It needs to be really toward your portfolio piece and integrating a nice responsive site. But if it's a chance to back away and take a look at something fun, this is a nice place to go.